If you're like me and you're wondering what class to play for World of Warcraft's Project Epoch, then perhaps Shield has got your back with this video determining which class will you play. For me, I'm leaning between Warlock, Druid and Hunter. Druid, so I have the option to tank. Warlock for good sustainable damage, but I like Hunter because of the fast movement speed and the range damage, but I'm a bit worried about having to melee weave. So I don't know how you guys feel about that kind of stuff. If you have any opinions, let me know, and let's go.
Hey folks, Shelda here, back with another video. In today's video, I'm joined by my fellow content creator, Wider. We sat down for a casual chat to try and put together a leveling tier list for all classes in Project Epoch, based on how they might perform during leveling, both solo and in group play. Now, obviously, we don't know exactly how things will turn out, since the server hasn't launched yet, and there have been a lot of class changes. So this is purely speculative, but based on what we've seen so far in the class toolkits, we wanted to share our thoughts on how things might shake out. And make sure you stay until the end, where we cover how each class performs separately. Again, it's all theory crafting, but hopefully it gives you something to think about ahead of launch. And with that out of the way, let's dive right into it.
Let's take a look.
Let's start with Hunter. I say that's for solo content, the S tier.
I have to say on Hunter, you started with the class I have zero knowledge about. This is your area.
Yeah, but just having having pets, having your being able to have the pet tank, and with all the changes they've made in here, one of the bigger or best changes for leveling is that the med pet will be will not be something you need to channel anymore. It'll be something that you just press and then you start shooting them up. So you can keep yourself going constantly if you just auto shooting, maybe using one spell here and there, but just auto shooting your way and constantly having your pet tank. And it can probably tank several mobs, especially now that pets scale with your stats. Overall, just pet is...
That's big, because one of the issues I had with Hunter when I played Hunter in SOD, Season of Discovery, and often the pet would struggle to keep up with the threat that I was generating. You'd have to like feign death and then start attacking again, and then within like a few seconds you've got the aggro again, and then they start running towards you. It becomes a bit of a hassle having to constantly run away from the mobs. When you've got a pet, the idea is the pet tanks, so hopefully the pet's going to be more solid at tanking.
So it's a hot now?
It's a hot
for the
now,
pet?
yeah. I think so, yeah.
That's really strong.
Yeah,
So mend is a hot.
So I'd probably...
Normally, I think that's what they're saying. Normally, you would have to stand there, channel that. So that's the heal over time for your pet.
And, you know, when it comes to parties and dungeons, I say
good.
they can... Pets, especially if you get a pet with Screech. I've, even in Classic, I've tanked Scarlet Monastery up until Scarlet Monastery. Beyond Scarlet Monastery, it starts to become a little bit iffy. But even in Scarlet Monastery, if you get a pet with Screech, that's either an owl or a Harrier bird. The Screech effect that the pet has is a AoE, it's an AoE debuff that creates a lot of threat. So if you are, pet should be able to tank a few, up to around 3, maybe even 4 mobs. At least it did in Classic. I could tank up until Scarlet Monastery, and even...
So if you're going to go for a Hunter, highly recommended pet is the Owl. That has Screech. It's an AoE taunt, effectively. It's not exactly a taunt, but it basically generates threat, so it kind of acts as a taunt over time, and it's hitting all the mobs nearby.
Tank, armory and stuff without any problems. Just have the healer heal the pet and put buffs, all the buffs on the pet, and he will hold aggro. He'd sometimes even take aggro from, because you still have the growl. So on a single target, he'll take aggro from the warrior, and the AoE aggro, so long as people aren't hitting the other mobs and just focusing on the mob that the pet is focusing on, he'll keep the aggro from the aggro from the other mobs as well. But I'm not sure if it applies here on Project Epoch. Of course, we have to preface that this is all just speculation, because we haven't tried it or tested it or played to this point. We've just only got to level 7 in the stress test, and that's it.
It will also be interesting with the new pet types, right? You can get completely new pets now.
Yeah, they hinted at, and we don't know what pets and what abilities they'll have. Maybe they are completely cost. Another thing, we're getting the talent system for the pets. We're getting that talent system from Wrath of the Lich King.
Ooh, that's strong.
Yeah, that's very strong. So we don't really know what we're getting, but I think it's gonna get quite strong, even for something like dungeons. I think we're gonna see creative hunters come up with some really creative use cases for either soloing things or dungeon tanks and stuff like that.
And I agree with S tier for Hunter on leveling here, because there is a reason.
See, that's a big plus for me, is I like to sort of solo dungeons, and this is where I'm slightly conflicted between Warlock and Hunter, because Warlock's going to have that Seed of Corruption. Even if it's slightly nerfed, it's still going to do a lot of damage, even if it is taken down, because, you know, stats are going to be pretty good, and this is level 60, remember, not level 70, so you got Seed of Corruption at level 60, big AoE damage. And then Hunters, of course, have the potential to AoE damage for soloing dungeons, but they have to gather all the mobs and then sort of dance around specific points. Let me know what you think.
And why every gold farmer is playing a hunter to make gold to a solo farm content. The class is really, really good on leveling. We know that like every pet class is. So with those changes you told me about, I can only agree. I think hunter will be an absolute S tier for leveling.
Yeah, I think so. And what else is there to say? Of course, it's going to be beast mastery. Survival, haven't seen much changes. Some slight changes in marksmanship, but nothing that's really going to change anything.
Since it's TBC here, is there a dead zone for melee and range for hunters?
It's been removed. They have removed the dead zone, so that's really, really nice. And they specifically said they implemented something like when you go too close, you automatically start using your melee abilities, and once you gain distance, you automatically start using your range.
That's true.
Good. So strong hunters seem to be really, really strong.
Yeah. Well,
I tested it because I downloaded a Warmain, which is basically quite a similar private server in regards to testing, I suppose, on the 3.35a client. And I tested with the hunter. I did a range shot, and then I walked towards a test dummy, and then my character automatically went into melee. And then as I walk backwards, go back into range. So that's a really cool feature. Very, very good. So it's still a little bit tricky to get raptor strikes off because they're based on your next melee attack. So you kind of have to spam it as you're moving in. And theoretically, I think, again, this is where the melee weaving is a slight issue. Is I think it might be mandatory if you really want to min-max on damage. I'm hoping you kind of don't need to because it just seems like a pain to do. But yeah,
it's all speculation. You never know. Like something could come up that is even more broken. But with the changes and all these things, I think it's going to be strong. Let's move on to mage. I've never really played mage.
Yeah, same for me. I think we are both no mage experts.
Sadly, I'm not sure if this is correct, but I think there was some point in time where a change was made. I think it was in TBC where there is the amount of damage your blizzard does in vanilla is not based on how many mobs there is. It'll do the same exact damage if there's one mob or if there's 10 mobs. But I do think that in some point they changed that so that whenever there's 10 mobs, the damage the blizzard will do will be spread out on all 10 mobs. So it'll be a lot less per mob. And if they have that change in, I gotta put mages in something like C or B tier.
Yeah, I think they've capped it to 10.
Each mob likely, and it's gonna be a lot like you won't have this opportunity to AoE farm. Probably at least not in the same effect. Maybe arcane, maybe with arcane explosion and fire. What's it called?
The fire nova thingy. I know what you mean. The blast, fire burst, flame burst, something like this. I know what you mean.
Maybe that could be enough to wipe groups of mobs. So I'm really unsure on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I had the same thinking as you do because of course mages are really, really strong class for leveling when they can do AoE farm. I mean, you probably want to go Frost if you want to AoE farm because you want to do that Blizzard thing where you just pull a lot of mobs together and just grind them down. The question is this possible on Epoch? I mean, if it's not possible, yeah, they are really way slower to level. I would also put them on B if they are AoE capped. If they are not, they are probably A tier, I would say.
Yeah.
Mages are one of my favorite classes, one of my favorite things to do. You get about level 20-ish, and then you can, as Alliance, you can go to the knolls and wetlands, start farming them. If you're ahead of most people, then you can sort of stay ahead. It's always the rush with the mage to try to stay ahead of the packs, and then you keep AoE farming with Arcane Explosion and Blizzard, etc. But I don't like any caps. I understand 10 mobs is quite a lot anyway. Especially for dungeons, you'll probably be fine. You're not going to pull too much more than 10 unless you get super advanced. But I don't like any caps. It just sort of puts me off.
But something else which is new on Project Epoch for mages, which is really cool, is the fact that they can not only conjure drinks and bread for themselves, so they are
as well.
Exactly, they can also conjure weapons. And with this, you basically always have a Abyss weapon with you. It has intellect, and you can also give this to your group. So let's say, for example, I'm playing a paladin, my weapon broke because I die too often. My mage in the group can just give me a weapon. That's really cool. You don't have to interrupt your dungeon run with this. You can just go on. And that's a cool change. It's nothing game-breaking in my opinion, but it's just something cool they have now. And of course, you always want a mage in your group anyway for their water, right?
Yeah. So for group content, there's still some of the best. You got your sheep, you got your CC, the hard CC. You even got some control with Nova. maybe you could do a couple of mages could do the dungeon cleaving thing that they did in Classic, where you just join Scarlet Monastery as 5 mages or 4 mages and a healer and just try to AoE spell cleave down groups of mobs. Where do we land? I'm not sure about the Frost, what's it called, the Blizzard thing. I'm not sure if there's any limitation or the AoE cap, if that's a thing. Maybe it's not. So maybe we should put him on A tier.
I mean, let's put it on A. We think it's not capped because we don't know it. Maybe write us in the comments down below if you are a mage player and you know more about the class, if it's AoE capped or not. That would be great for us. So for now, we think it's not, and we put mage on A. But
yeah, I think so. And even just one more thing I need to add, because what's the argument for not putting him on S tier? And in my opinion, it is that once the server launches, a lot of areas, like especially known AoE farming areas, if there is such a thing on Epoch, because maybe they changed all this AoE areas, but I'm guessing there still are some. And first of all, you need to find them. Second of all, if mob abilities have been changed, you don't know if mob that was usually just a melee mob now is a caster, and then that's going to limit your ability to AoE farm significantly. And another thing is just the amount of mages, or in general, people questing and leveling in these low-level areas. That's going to contest your AoE grinding area. So it's going to be really, really hard to get anywhere with AoE grinding, even if the AoE cap is not in place.
Yeah, I agree. I can also add something else to it, because I think there is just one more class which is even better than mage, which we come later on, which is reserved for S tier. That's one point.
Yeah.
And the other point is that it's just not fun to do AoE farm. I think leveling should be fun, and it's not fun to just simply grind mobs all the time. So that's something, even if it's effective, that's something which leads me to not put them in S tier.
But I agree with you. We're not just looking, at effectiveness purely out of how fast you can get. You're also looking into how are they while questing and in dungeons and for solo content. So for questing and dungeons, I think they're great. I think they're one of the most wanted classes, especially for dungeons.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on then to one of your favorite classes, if not the favorite class, Paladin.
Before they move on, just want to mention, in case it wasn't already previously mentioned, mages will get ritual refreshment. So if you like to provide water and sustenance to your group, or have the ability to do that, that's very useful. It's basically a much better version of conjuring food and water over time. You can just do one go, and then everyone can just click on it and get what they need. And they can also conjure weapons for your group to level up their weapon skill, which in World of Warcraft is certainly a thing you have to do. So if that's something you wanted to do as a mage to support other people, that's something you could consider.
Yeah, not only my favorite class, also the favorite class of probably half of the population of Project Epoch, what I saw on the stress test.
Gonna be a lot of undead paladins, I'm guessing.
Exactly. And I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I have...
Okay, so before they just get into the Paladin, it's one of those classes where I don't really like it that much. It's fine. I can play it. It's kind of clunky, weird. I'm not a big fan. Again, like the melee weave and stuff with the hunter, I'm not a big fan of the Paladin seal twisting stuff. That's never been big on me. But one of my favorite moments was playing the level 70 Paladin and going to Stratham and AoE farming it. I had a lot of fun doing that. It was incredibly strong. I'd get as much spell power gear as I possibly could. And I feel like that's something you could possibly do in this, unless they've capped consecration in some sort of way, shape, or form. I feel like that would be really good. But the downside is you have to play Paladin. But once you get that gear and you do it for that specific purpose, it's really fun.
Have to play under Paladin. It's something which we never got on Season of Discovery, and I'm a Paladin main since 2004, so I have to play this class. And
awesome.
I have to say something which might not make the population of Project Epoch happy, because I don't think Paladin is a great class to level with.
No.
You have different choices to level as a Paladin. You can go as a Retribution Paladin, you can go as a Protection Paladin, you can even level as a Holy Paladin on Project Epoch. You're really flexible about it, so you have to choose what kind of way you choose for leveling. I always leveled as a Retribution Paladin. I think it's a good balanced way to level out, so you can always do dungeons, you can solo every content you want to with all your cooldowns up, so that's really cool. But on the other hand, it's slower, it's really slow.
Yeah.
If you choose to level as a Protection Paladin, you have to wait up to level 20 to get Consecration, which is default on Project Epoch now. On level 30 you get Seal of Blood, which is helping really much for AoE farming, Holy Shield at level 35, and Seal of Wisdom at level 38. So if you got this whole kit together, you can basically do dungeon farming all day, and you you'd never have to stop it. You can level up to level 60 just by spamming dungeons, which is really effective together with mages, for example. But as I said before, for the mage class, is this something you want to do? I say no. So it's not the way I want to level on Project Epoch. And what's a bit cooler way is to level as a Holy Paladin on Project Epoch, because you have improved Seal of Righteousness now, which is a talent which is working on Project Epoch. This never worked before on the other iterations of World of Warcraft.
It didn't scale correctly on older iterations, especially vanilla. I don't know about TBC, but you're right about vanilla. Seal of Righteousness didn't really.
Yeah. It never scaled with spell power as it should. And now they fixed that. And this means you can use the seal to either seal twist if you want to do that together with Seal of Command, or with the other new seals. For example, with Vengeance, Seal of Righteousness, if you twist it in Seal of Vengeance, then you get 2 stacks of Seal of Vengeance through this twist. So you can stack up 5 times really fast, and this is a lot of damage. And you can do this as a Holy, and you will just stack up scaling spell power gear. You can do it with a 2-hand, you can play it with a 1-hand, and you can level up all the way in the talent tree up to Holy Shock. So you're a really good healer for dungeons, and you do really good damage while playing solo. This could be a fun new way to play Paladin on Project Epoch. But you have to drink a lot, I think, so you have a lot of downtime in between. So sadly, leveling speed
Gonna need a mage friend then.
is not the strength of a Paladin. You can do everything you want, but it takes time. And because of this, I sadly have to put the Paladin on the B tier for leveling.
B tier, yeah.
DCB?
You can do everything you want, which is cool, but it
That's
takes
higher
time,
than I
and
thought.
There are just other classes which are better at leveling, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think
One good thing about Paladin, I think, is they might be able to tank, because this is going to be based on TBC level 70 talents. I haven't taken a proper look at all of the talents, but level 70 is when Paladins was sort of starting to be able to tank. I think you might get taunt, but again, this is like level 60 with 70 talents, so I'm not sure if you're actually going to get the taunt ability on certain classes that wouldn't normally have done it.
kind of agree with you, especially when it comes to retribution and holy. But you have to consider when it comes to, you are a healer, so you can be brought to dungeons and be very wanted in dungeons, and you still in protection have the opportunity, especially now with the changes to readout that procs on a chance on hit instead of a crit. Early on, you can start doing some, maybe even at level 30ish, doing some AoE farming, and you're still being you're still protection, so you can get into dungeons easily.
Yeah, that's true, but that's the same thing with the mage. Why I won't put mage on last tier. I don't want to simply just AoE farm mobs, you know what I mean? Not on Project Epoch, not on this new server with new content. That's just boring in my opinion. Maybe as an alt, yeah, I can see it there. And then I would also put them maybe on the A tier, the Paladin, if I say I will do this min-max way of leveling, but not at the beginning of the server.
But then just talking about dungeons, you do have more options when it comes to, you can join as a healer, even if you're a tank spec or retribution spec, you're just swapping some internet gear in, and you can still, especially at the lower level dungeons, and if you're tank spec, you can still join dungeons as tank.
Because this is based on the Wrath of the Lich King client, I can't remember if it was covered beforehand, but are you going to have Dungeon Finder in this or not, where you can sort of assign yourself a role or even look for groups and create looking for groups? So you just say, for example, you've got a group of 3 people, but none of you can tank. Then you sort of like looking for tank and 1 DPS. Can you sign up for that, or do you still have to? I think they mentioned you might be able to, which would be really, really good.
So I'd at least put them, either I take the mage down a notch, or I take up the paladin a notch when it comes to considering, not only your effectiveness at leveling, but also questing and dungeons.
I mean, we can put them on maybe low A.
We can take the mage down a bit. That's also an option.
Yeah, and we can make this decision later on. Maybe I'm not quite sure how we want to handle this. We have a few more classes which we can talk about.
Still quite fun, but I think I agree with you somewhat, especially when it comes to killing speed. It's gonna be slow. And it's gonna be slower than a mage at killing stuff for sure. Even with all the talent changes, much of what's good about Paladin gets unlocked at around level 44. That's at least where you can get Crusader Strike if you want to level as.
They moved the mage down
in Project Epoch, so you don't get stuff at level 40. At least according to the talent calculator, you unlock your latest talent at 44 instead of 40.
Yeah, and keep in mind how you play before as a Paladin. You're only auto-attacking, even on Project Epoch. You can't seal twist up to, I don't know when you get the new seals right now, but I guess not before level 30. So your gameplay is auto-attacking.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not fun. That's why they are also on the B tier for me.
All right, moving on then to Priest.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you can play as a Smite Priest on Project Epoch. And this means you can can level as holy. So with this, you can play basically everything solo, same as the Paladin, I think, but you have a lot of free casting stuff in the talent tree. This is really, really interesting in my opinion. It depends on how much damage the Holy Priest would do at the end, but it sounds like a really strong level build, and you're also a really strong healer for dungeons at the same time. So
Priest is always a really good overall class if you're never quite sure what to pick. Spellcaster can support fantastic healing spells, can also opt into Shadow, which does incredibly good damage, strong for PvP as well, competitive in PvE. So Priest is always up there.
this is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I heard about they did some not only TBC changes, because there already are TBC changes in place, of course, but they did some extra changes when it comes to Smite Priest. Am I right?
Yeah. They adjusted and customized the Holy Talent Tree for offensive abilities, which increasing the damage of Smite and Holy Fire and the stuff. And it also gives free casts after crits and stuff like this. So if this is working as intended, I'm not sure if it will, but if it's working as intended, then you go for crit, and then you crit a lot with your smites and get free casts, and you won't have mana problems because you can go into discipline with the mana regeneration talents, and in combination with this should work really good on paper at least.
I see. That's very interesting. So they are really opening up for a second DPS spec for Priest.
Yeah.
And that being,
I mean, you
holy,
can,
right? Are you going how?
That's holy, yeah.
Are you doing a mix? Are you doing like half discipline and half holy? I don't know much about Priest, to be honest, when it comes to Smite Priest.
I think so. I mean, I played Shadow Priest on Season of Discovery as my alt. I played that to level 60, and I know a bit about Shadow Priest, but Smite Priest is something I never tried before because it wasn't possible. I think there was some attempts at Turtle WoW, but they were never viable in my opinion.
Okay, well that opens up some opportunities for sure for Priest. Still, Priest is quite good still in dungeons, of course. Especially now, if they do more damage, they'll be considered more as a DPSer, but of course they are still a healer, so they can always join both groups and dungeons easily.
Yeah. You will always want a priest in your group.
But aren't you wanding, like in the beginning, just wanding through a lot of levels, or has this also changed, do you think?
I think you still want to wand as soon as possible, and you can also level as a discipline priest, which is this wanding spec, and you throw back damage with your shields and stuff like this, which is also a strong option, and is basically the same as Smite Priest for leveling, because you can still heal in dungeon groups, and you do good solo. You don't have to find a group. You can probably also solo a league quest with this. So Priest is a really strong contender for leveling, in my opinion.
Be prepared to wand a lot as a priest. So get a good wand. There's typically some good quests for it. I know in Westfall you can find a quest near the lighthouse that will reward a wand, but there's slightly better ones I think you can get, particularly from crafting. So I think it might be enchanting, where people can create level 5 wands with specific materials, and those will carry you for quite a good start. So get used to wanding as a priest. It's very, very good whilst you're regenerating mana.
Overall.
Yeah, so where do we place our dear priest?
I think it's an A class for leveling, because you always have a dungeon group. You won't have any time waiting for groups to fill up as a heal if you want to.
Ooh.
And you can do good solo content for yourself. And I think
Will
with the
we
new
make it
Smite
to
possibilities,
100?
this could also be really fun to play. It's all.
Thank you, Croy, for the tier 3 sub. Sure, why not? What class are you going to play, Croy?
Only theory right now, but it sounds promising.
Okay, let's leave
I think you said you didn't have time before, didn't you?
it
I mean,
at 8 for now, and then we'll look back into this, because I'm still a little bit, you can tank. Tank is the most wanted thing in vanilla as a paladin, so I think that brings the paladin up a notch, maybe.
But you also got shaman tanks, you also got warrior tanks and druid tanks on Epoch.
What
I don't think
class
most people
would you
consider,
play
a shaman
if
as a tank? I think
you
you're
could?
right, it is possible, but I do think a lot of people wouldn't really invite a shaman as the tank for the group.
But didn't they also get support for tanking on Epoch?
Not anything more than what they had in vanilla.
Really?
They just reverted some things that were changed in TBC back to the vanilla state. So in vanilla, example is Rockbiter and the threat component to that, as far as I know, has been reverted back to its vanilla state. Is there anything that I'm missing?
Maybe I am wrong here, but I thought they got some adjustments in their talent tree for enhancement, but maybe I'm wrong here.
They did
Maybe
get
you're
the
right.
opportunity to two-hand enhancement. So they did some changes to make not only dual wielding, but two-handed enhancement, especially late game, but also early on, way more viable.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong here.
I'm not sure either, but I don't think there's been really enough support neither in the spellbook or in the talent tree. You can tank as a shaman for sure. You can tank up until, let's say, same as Hunter around Scarlet Monastery quite effectively. But I think it's difficult to convince people that has been playing, TBC and Ref for years, and especially also later expansions. If they're going back, like I think a lot of people are still in the mindset of, well, shaman, that's a healer, or he's a DPS. He can't tank.
That's something I will never understand. If you play on a private server, which is Classic Plus, I don't understand why people are so focused on their old school rules. Because on Season of Discovery, this was cool because now you had Warlock tanks and Rogue tanks and stuff like this, and people were just open for it.
And it was officially supported as well. Like
true.
You could see that the devs definitely did a lot to try and make it viable. But when it comes to Hunter tanking in dungeons, I also fought a lot. I got rejected a ton from trying to tell people, well, I can tank it. I've done this like 20 times before your group, so I can definitely tank this dungeon with my pet. And people, they just don't want to touch it. They don't want to mess with it.
Sheila, when I'm playing with you together, we do a dungeon and you tank with
Absolutely.
your pet.
Absolutely. So I think it's gonna be a struggle as a shaman to get the group, unless you're forming the group, and some people might not even believe in it, and some people may leave. That happened to me as a hunter, but I also understand that hunter is also a little bit like, that's even more controversial tanking than a shaman. Shaman is probably a little bit more accepted as a tank.
We talked a lot about the shaman tanking. Do we want to rank the shaman if we already talked so much about it now?
We should actually finish the shaman then, and then do the rogues, the rogue after. So since we already started.
What do you think about shaman leveling?
I think the enhancement shaman, especially once you open up for dual wielding and go that route when leveling. I remember once the pre-patch hit back in Classic, I was actually leveling as
5 months is still quite a long time. I'm not too sure on like the motivations of Project Epoch per se, but it's something they've been passionate about for a long time, you can tell. And they don't care too much as to what Blizzard are actually doing, regardless of whether the TBC anniversary is soon or late. So, if anything, this will be practice.
Shaman alt, and I was around level 30, I think. Was it 30? I think it was around level 30 or 35 or something in Strangleform Vale. It wasn't long until I got my 2 one-handed weapons. And not only in low levels, not only was I really, really strong in PvP because I was just running up to people one-shotting them, but I was also really, really killing mobs really fast with Wind Fury on both weapons. And they did something with, spell power for shamans, not only in the talents, but also in the Flame Tongue weapon thing, so that they kept some of that from Wrath.
The Spell Hand Shaman, which was a thing in Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah.
And they can use their spell power on their offhand, Flame Tongue, and Wind Fury on the main hand, and you can just go more into the spell power route, and that's also a really, really strong contender. I don't know if it's good for leveling. Maybe it is. I never tried it on leveling. I always leveled as a normal enhancement, dual wielding and stuff in TBC. Also, a good point for Shaman for leveling is their Ghost Wolf, because you just travel faster than most other classes. Up from level 20, you get it right with your talents.
Exactly, yeah.
To be instant.
Speaking of that, I was going to talk about Hunter again, and they get aspects of the pack, or aspects of the cheetah, so they can move fast. But I was saying, or thinking, but it's not going to happen, that the Hunters should get Wind Fury on their bows. That'd be funny.
It'll be instant, because we're playing on TPC.
You have not much downtime with your water shield. You have constantly mana, and you can also move your totems on Project Epoch, right? So you have a button to just reapply them, and this is also really, really great for shamans.
Especially in dungeons and raids, so they don't pull, and you don't have to press every totem through to replace it.
Yeah, and it's also more mana efficient.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not possible to level as an elemental shaman on Project Epoch, right?
I think they've done a lot to, increase the viability of elemental shaman, but I don't think it's probably not as effective when it comes to speed or mob killing than enhancement is. But if you choose to level as elemental, which I do recommend, even if you want to be a healer. If you want to be a healer, might as well just go into elemental. Then you'll have an easier time leveling, and you can still easily join groups, especially at the lower levels, and just heal perfectly fine.
I mean, if you want to level as an elemental shaman, of course you can do it, but I think you have a lot of downtime. It's really slow.
I don't remember that quest.
I think it's fast. I think it's efficient. I think it has self-healing and can kite. It has everything it needs. It's an A class for me.
Me too. It's definitely on par with the priest. If not
better than the priest, in my opinion.
Yeah, better than the priest. But
do we want to order it so you do it on the left? So left is better, more plus, and right side of the tier list is more minus. Yeah.
Let's do that. What about mage and paladin?
Yeah, you can put the mage before the paladin. In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. Something like this.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Shaman's up there, but yeah, we'll see.
What did the rogue get?
Access, right? They can use access.
They can use access now. That's gonna make it easier in the early levels. You open up for weapon progression opportunities.
Yeah, but to be honest, the rogues didn't get much, right?
No, I think later on, you'll still be leveling as combat for the first many levels until
makes sense.
until you open up for mutilate.
Okay.
I think.
So you level with daggers then?
Well, I'm not sure about this, but when you read mutilate, the updated mutilate, I can't see anywhere where it says it requires daggers. And another thing they changed, I don't think it requires you to be behind the target anymore. So in TPC,
really,
I don't think mutilate ever required you to be behind the target. So it was always just a super strong version of Sinister Strike, as I remember it, but I could be wrong. Plus, rogues are going to get a lot more value from their poisons in Epoch.
had to be both behind the target and you had to be wielding dagger. But in Wrath of the Lich King, they changed that. It didn't require you to stand behind the target anymore. They also made some changes to Vigor, so you're getting not only 10 more energy, but 20 more energy, and you're getting 10% more energy regeneration.
What is interesting is with the 3.3.5 client, you don't have the old energy system, right? You don't have the ticks, you now have the constant energy flow in it, right?
Yeah, it should be constant flow, yeah. Which
That's
will
better
make
for rogues, for sure.
It is better for rogues, especially when you talk about increased energy regeneration rates from talents like Vigor, because that you're gonna feel that more, not so much when it comes in ticks. An option for leveling is assassination once you hit level 44.
Why?
I think because that not only have they changed some of the talents in here, mutilate has gotten a lot better, and if what I suspect is true, that it's not only daggers, it's also slower weapons, then mutilate will hit for a lot more when you use it, but cost the same energy as it would with daggers, if that is true.
Because if that is true, then that would be really broken, because the modifier of mutilate is really, really high, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's
very strong.
It could be normalized in here.
Okay.
Meaning that
would make sense.
Yeah, at least it would. I think they'd have to, or else the daggers would just be way too weak, and you would never go daggers as a rogue unless you want to go ambush and backstab. But I think that they'd have to normalize mutilate so that even like 2.2 or something, so that even if you choose daggers, it's not such a big deal. Yeah, but
you lack AOE in this tree, right? Because in combat tree you have Blade Fury and stuff like this, and you don't have enough knives as a rogue on Epoch, right?
No, I don't think so. No. So you're single targeting, you're doing a lot of damage, and you're sneaking around. Will you be able to solo stuff? Maybe, like if it's groups of mobs and you can zap one target, you can blind the other, and then you can kill one, and then you can vanish. You can do quests quite easily because of you having stealth, so you can get into quest areas, maybe even elite quest areas, kill one mob or pick up one quest item, and then get out of there without having to actually clear through the entire place. So that is some advantage for rogues, but that's just it. I think they're still they don't have any healing or no tanking ability like in
Rogue is for solo enthusiasts, typically. PvP, sweat lords. That's what you're going to get the best value from if you want to play Rogue.
Season of Discovery. Yeah.
So where do we place the rogue?
Somewhere between B and C tier when it comes to just like they don't have any real advantages when it comes to groups. They can't conjure food, they can't provide the group with any buffs or anything, but they do have strong damage, very strong damage.
Yeah, I agree.
And
tier.
Yeah, I think we have to wait and see how strong they are when it comes to assassination, if that is being viable as a leveling. If it's even stronger than combat. Yeah. But somewhere around B tier we can always adjust.
Mutilate is an assassination.
What do you think
spec.
about Warlock?
You mean the hero class?
Lisa's favorite.
In my opinion, Warlock is the absolute S+ tier. They made so many cool changes for this class. They were strong before on normal TBC, they were strong on vanilla, and in Project Epoch they are just broken in my opinion. You have the curses and the banes now, so you have even more debuffs than before. Your debuff slots are higher, and they adjusted the talents for your health siphon and for your soul siphon. So the more debuffs you have on the target, the more damage you do. You also have an execute now, so you are constantly damaging mobs. You have zero downtime. You have your pets, which is tanking for you. You have constant damage, a lot of damage, and you have constant healing through this. This is so insane. If you level as an Affliction Warlock, you can level all day. You don't have to stop. It's so broken in my opinion. And then you can do dungeons with what is it called? The Seed of Destruction, or what is this spell called?
Unstable Affliction.
No, the AOE.
Oh,
the
Seed of Corruption.
Yeah. Is that baseline? Is that a?
Yeah. It's baseline. You can put your points into Affliction and you make it even stronger. They nerfed it a little bit compared to Burning Crusade because it was just too strong.
Okay,
but if you put your points into, but only if you don't go into the Affliction tree, then it's nerfed. If you play into the Affliction tree, you get the power back, and then you have an unleveled monster. Basically, you are unstoppable. You can do AOE damage in groups, insane AOE damage. You can do insane solo content. You have your pet, you have your health stones, you have have all the utility you bring as a Warlock. This class is just insane. It's just way too strong in my opinion.
I see. But what about, what spec would be the go-to for leveling? Isn't that Demonology?
I would level as an Affliction Warlock, at least until level 44, when you get your
Destruction's like for raiding, typically. I remember raiding in TBC and spamming Shadowbolt, 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 Shadowbolt. But before that, I did Affliction until I got to the Destruction stage. But I didn't really ever play with Demonology much. That's more for PvP, just to get the link to your pet.
thingy, your, what is it called? The big guy.
Felguard?
Your big demon, your Felguard, exactly, yeah. Maybe you can change at level 44 to Demonology, but before I would level as an Affliction Warlock. I think it's just too good to pass.
I see. But if you once you get access to your Felguard, and then I see, have they buffed that as well?
I think so, yeah. I think the Felguard is also buffed. The Demonology tree is really interesting on Project Epoch. There are just a lot of stuff there. I haven't looked so much into it yet. I only saw the Affliction tree.
Do you think you can tank
not
with the Felguard, like dungeons?
I can't answer you that at the moment.
Okay.
Not sure. I don't know it yet. That's something we have to see. And you get a free mount at level 40.
That's true, yeah. You get the... You're not very fast in the beginning, but once you reach level 40, that's the same as the Paladin, you get a free mount.
Yeah. To be honest, for me, the Warlock is even higher than the Hunter. It's S+ for leveling. It's the best class for leveling in the game, in my opinion, on Project Epoch. Even on the left side of the Hunter, for me.
But what about the pet? Like, the Void Walker isn't that strong. Like, it doesn't hit so
but it
hard.
has better threat here. It has better threat here. So you won't lose the threat. Normally on Vanilla WoW, you pull with your Void Walker the mob, you do your Corruption, you do your Curse, you start Health Drain, and then you get aggro. But on TBC they changed this a bit, and I think they also changed this in Project Epoch. So the Warlock class is way stronger here. You can level non-stop with this, because as long as your Void Walker is tanking, you never lose health, because you get it all the time back.
For now, let's leave it up there.
Yeah.
And move on to our dear warriors.
Oh, man.
How do you...
I am conflicted between the Warlock and the Hunter now, especially after them being quite positive on the Warlock there, because I was leaning more towards the Hunter.
I think I haven't never leveled a war, never even played a war. It's too basic for me.
Yeah. Same for me. I also never played as a warrior, but I read a bit into them. And a cool thing about warrior on Project Epoch is the fact that you get victory rush. So your biggest weakness as a
level
warrior
10.
is that you have to eat all the time after every mob.
Victory
Because
rush
you have
heals you.
self-healing, you have nothing which supports you on leveling. But with this spell, you get health back every time you kill something. And it depends on how strong.
I really like when Blizzard did that. They introduced those abilities where upon killing a mob, you had this active ability that you could then use, which would then give you a little bit of sustenance to keep going. I think that was a good nod to sort of the pain that it can be to sort of keep leveling and having to sit down and drink and eat for so long. But it kept the momentum going.
This is on Project Epoch, but on other iterations of World of Warcraft, this helps warriors a lot on leveling. So they can just kill something, touch the next thing, kill something, touch the next thing, and they get this hot, which is all the time up, basically. So this is helping the warrior, because without this class would be a D.
But there's a big thing here we need to make sure. Does it actually heal you?
Yeah, it should, as far as I read.
Instantly attack the target, causing damage can only be used within 20 seconds after you kill an enemy that yields experience or honor. Damage is based on your attack power. It doesn't say anything about healing. I don't think they've implemented the thing where it heals you.
Okay. Yeah, I also read into the spellbook right now, and it also doesn't say something about healing there. So it's basically a non-cost ability to increase your rage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but then...
So it's
Sorry,
not...
then warrior is horrible in leveling.
I think so. So maybe, I don't know. You know, they've opened up for Slam, I think, as well as a viable leveling build. And not only for leveling, but also for raiding.
A slam build.
Yeah, maybe that would help a lot. But I don't really see you. Well, they are tanks, right? So they can easily get into dungeons. That's a big.
Yeah.
But they are the de facto tanks. So they're not D tier in my opinion, just because of the fact if we consider dungeoneering, not only solo questing and leveling, but also dungeoneering into the equation, then I think it at least brings them up to a C tier. If not at least on par with the Paladin. They do kill mobs
Paladins
faster.
are better dungeon tanks, and also so druids are also better dungeon tanks than warriors. Warrior tanking is better in raiding, but before that they are the worst tanks of all.
Okay.
So they are good tanks, of course, but they have less AoE damage, they have, that's basically it. They have less damage, so you always want a paladin and a druid before you want a warrior, in my opinion, in a dungeon group. But you always want a tank, so the fact that they can tank makes them, of course, good.
Yeah, it actually, I think they'll probably be killing mobs faster than a paladin, don't you think?
But they have
paladin just auto-attacking, and warriors has some more abilities to, they do have more downtime.
Yeah, but they have to eat after it. They have to sit down after every mob if they play alone.
That is true.
For me, it's a C, and only a C because they can tank. Otherwise, they would be a T for 11.
Well, then we put
not a fan of the
C
warrior now.
I give them one more good point. As soon as they get their big weapon, their whirlwind axe, and as soon as they hit level 44, they get Bladestorm. So as an arms warrior, they have really high AoE damage for dungeon farming. That's
warriors for those that have patience, I think, because once you do get to like 44 onwards, you can get the good weapons, and they tend to, at least in Classic, be the best damagers. But I'm not sure how that's going to work on Project Epoch, because they can scale so crazy well with weapons.
A good point for them. Give them a shaman on the side and a retribution paladin or something like this, and you have a good solo, good dungeon group.
Then we have just...
And don't forget, Alliance are going to get shaman now, so you're going to have Wind Fury, quite typically. And Wind Fury works very well on the warrior's weapon.
The druid left.
One last but not least, the druid. Also a lot of changes for this class, which is really, really cool. They now scale with weapons because of the feral attack power talent, a new stat which they introduced on Project Epoch. So you can get weapons on your way to 16, and this will increase your damage, which is really, really good because damage of feral druids is really high while leveling.
Yep, and I heard from Mossy's video and druids also that they now can use the weapon procs. So if a weapon has a proc on it, like a stun or something, it's also applies, as well as you can use a wider range of consumables while you are still...
While shapeshifted.
Shapeshifted,
Yeah, you can also use polearms now as a druid, which is also new, so a new kind of weapon which you can use. And I leveled as a druid in Season of Discovery. I also leveled in original TBC a bit of druid because I always liked those hybrid classes, and they feel really good while leveling. You have basically zero downtime, you have stealth, you have a lot of damage, and you can heal yourself. It's really, really strong. And another cool change on Project Epoch is the fact that you no longer need the wolf's head helm. So this was your Biz helm for all the game, basically, which you crafted, and they changed it. So the effect of the wolf's head helm is now in the Furor talent, which is your first talent from the Restoration tree.
Oh, it's the first one.
That's really, really good.
Yeah, that's really strong.
It's 5 points you need to put into it. You would have taken this talent anyway for power shifting, and with this new adjusted version of it, you can power shift as soon as you get your cat form. And that's really, really strong because you can do a lot of damage with this early on now. And
Druid are going to get a lot more quality of life features. They can drink consumables whilst in bear form, for example, so you don't have to come out bear form and then get instantly killed on the next attack whilst you're trying to take a health potion to stop yourself from dying. They're just going to be more versatile, I think, overall. I'm liking the idea of Druid, particularly potentially for tanking. They got like Lacerate as well that can help them maintain threat on specific targets, but I don't think they have an AoE version of it, unlike you get in the future expansions. I think it was Cataclysm maybe that did that. But yeah, Druid could be good. I think they're trying to make the other specs a bit more viable. Still not sure how Boom King's going to operate though, whether that's really going to do the trick. And the weapons for Druid, they're now going to scale with attack power, so they're going to get more value from weapons. And like he says, they can get the procs potentially. I'm not sure 100% if they can get procs of stun, but not being dependent on the Wolf's Head Helm for that extra energy when shifting is going to be great because you get that as part of being a Druid now. And the Gnomish Pulmola, which was something that was annoying that you had to farm just so you could have this plus 50% attack speed for a periodic amount of time. I never liked stuff like that because it felt forced. You had to have it basically if you wanted to actually operate properly. So I think they're making that unique, so it's not going to be so valuable anymore.
This makes them a strong class to level, in my opinion, because you can also nearly solo everything alone if you want to, because of your healing, because of your kiting abilities, because of your stealth and your big damage. And also, you are just really flexible. You also have your travel form, you have your cat form with increased movement speed if your talent into it, so you are fast. All the changes you already talked about with the consumables and pots, this is even more mana efficient than before, so absolutely great class to level in my opinion. And for dungeons you can tank, of course, as a bear.
And it's quite easy because it's the same as feral gear, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So you don't even need to think about a shield or think about having some specific tanking items. You can pretty much just focus on stamina while you're leveling, and you'll have way enough armor and health and everything to be a beefy tank as well.
Exactly.
And not only that, They also got revive already at an early level. I think at level 12 they get revive. So you're not gimping yourself, bringing a healing druid into your group and not being able to resurrect your teammates anymore. They can now resurrect your teammates just like any other healer.
Yeah. Which is just a good quality of life upgrade, because why shouldn't they be able to rest before? Made no sense at all.
Yeah. They also get some AoE healing. I can see already at level 18. I'm just looking on my other monitor here. Overgrowth is a spell that puts a rejuvenation on all your target's party members.
Oh, that's new and cool. Yeah?
That is very, very effective for AoE healing, as well as they've also done some updates to Tranquility, I think. But I do not know much about Druid. I wish that Epoch on their webpage would actually go into some detail, because they have these abilities and then they under the ability sets updated, but we don't really know what's been updated necessarily, unless you're really in the know of a specific class. Then you can probably see it. But if you don't know about the class already, then I think they should have added something under the updated spells to show what actually has been updated. But that's a topic for another time. I digress.
I mean, you wouldn't level as a boomkin, right? We would only level as a feral druid, because it's the most useful thing and it makes the most sense, right? It's also really fun to play.
Yeah.
So where would you put that druid?
I'd say S tier up very close to
all the
100.
classes I was interested in are S
I'd
tier.
probably put him above the 100, because he's an official tank, and just having that ability to both heal, you can tank. You're a really strong tank. You have the ability.
Epoch is the 26th of July, Saturday. I'm not sure what the time is though, so if anyone wants to tell me what the time of it is, then feel free to do so. Like what time of day, GMT.
It's solo, everything. You get movement speed really early on, just as fast as you get.
Hopefully they don't do it like Blizzard does it, where they release it like literally like an hour before midnight if you live in the UK. So it's like, ugh.
With I think the hunter, right?
You have to be up most of the day before it even starts.
You get cat form as druid as with level 20, which is not the fastest way you can travel. Travel form is the fastest way you can travel with level 30, but it's a faster way than just walking normal.
Yeah, so for me, I don't know, I'd put him up against the warlock, not because of him being as strong as a warlock or a hunter, but just because he has the opportunity to get into every single group as a DPSer, as a healer, or as a tank. I value the tanking ability quite high when it comes to leveling as a way of getting into groups fast and easy.
Okay, I understand your point. I would put the druid on A+ or S-, because I think the pet classes are just strong as solo, but with this aspect of being able to fulfill every role with all the other strong aspects this class has, we can put them on this position on the S class. Yeah, I agree with you then.
Let's actually do two things. Let's consider only solo efficiency, and we'll make a tier list based on that, and after that we'll make a tier list based on overall efficiency.
Okay, all right.
I would have thought Hunter's still the best, but it depends on AoE.
Basically, who levels the fastest? Who is the most effective in leveling? Not considering dungeons, not considering abilities to get into group, but just getting through quests and getting through mob kills as fast as possible. I'd say something like this.
I would change the mage to A+. I would put them before shamans.
You'd put the mage before shaman?
Yeah. If it's only about self-efficiency without groups and stuff, the mage is also a really fast level.
I think the head start that a shaman will get, especially in the early levels, they're one of the fastest out of the gate. As soon as you get your shocks at level 10, at level 6, and you get your rock biter, you hit fast, you kill mobs fast. I don't think even if a mage, only if the mage can
I'm
AoE
surprised
farm.
how high they put the shaman up.
If the mage can't AoE farm, I'd say he's slower than even the rogue. But if he can AoE farm, then he's up here for sure, And I'd maybe put the warrior up
I never
here,
felt like shaman was that quick.
Just as fast at killing
leveling
mobs as the paladin is, but he may struggle in some quests, and especially if something involves elite mobs and stuff, then he is a bit more squishy than the paladin and the priests. So
I disagree with you. The warrior is still C tier because he has to eat so much. He has no healing at all. You have to bandage all the time. You have to eat all the time. It's just taking forever.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It really depends on how strong the TBC changes is. Because at least for vanilla, I completely agree with you. But with the custom changes in here, it really depends on if you get a good weapon and if you can actually
it's Son of Aragorn
to mob and then get the kills fast. So
okay,
can we
I'm
agree
cool
on something
with this like this?
Yeah, we can agree on something similar to this or close to this when it comes to just solo leveling efficiency.
Yeah.
Group efficiency, I'd say druid can easily get into group. I pretty much
because
just
of
put
the tanking and healing.
Yeah, I'd pretty much put all classes that can either heal or tank in the upper tiers, while the rest gets the lower tiers, except for maybe mage and warlock, because they can conjure food, and warlock can summon. Rogue can't really do anything when it comes to dungeoneering. Hunter, if they get accepted as tanks, I'd put them down here.
Okay. I would also put the Warlock down in the A tier here because they have the utility if it's only dungeon efficiency, but in the dungeon they are only DPS. They have health stones and summoning, but after this they only have damage. So Warlock is A tier for me in this category. The Warlock, in A tier.
Oh, A tier, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about the
And priests?
warriors? Would he be S tier when it comes to dungeons?
No, it's A tier. It's A tier. They are worse tanks than druids and paladins, and they only bring damage afterwards. So you need tanks for sure, as same as you need.
Is that the case in TBC that warriors will be worse? Because I've always thought they were supposed to be like the #1 tank, right? That was just their thing, especially. Well, actually doing damage is also their thing, ironically, even though they're seen as trash damage whilst they're leveling up. But I'm happy to hear that druids doing very well.
Healers, but they are only A tier, and they are not on the top of the A tier, maybe in the middle or something like this. Yeah. Probably even after shamans, right? Because shamans bring so much to a dungeon group with Wind Fury, with all those totems.
Yeah, but do you value warlock above shaman and warrior in dungeons?
No. I would put it even lower than mage, to be honest. Yeah.
I agree. But I would put.
Yeah.
I would probably put hunter just because, but it's only on one condition. If the hunter can tank, and if it's like people would actually consider the hunter as a tank, I'd put him a bit further, maybe just behind the warrior.
If they can tank, yeah, but that's a big if. We don't know about.
Yeah, true. That's a very big if. And if not, I'd still I'd maybe even put them down here. Because they're not really that wanted in groups, hunters. Like they don't really bring any buffs or something. They do bring only good damage.
Poor
but
hunters.
not even AoE damage.
Not even AoE damage, no. Yeah. So I'd say if that's the case, then they're probably on par with the rogue. So this would probably be my comp for when it comes to like value in a group setting.
Yeah, I agree. Looks good.
Go in alliance.
I do think that shaman is great, but I still disagree slightly with you because he can tank, and I know that tanks are probably, if not the most wanted things in a group setting. That is something that you need really a lot. For that reason, I'd either put him here or up in the S tier, but only for that reason.
I mean, you also need healers all the time, so shaman can heal.
Yeah,
and because of this, I value them more than tanks, but probably also because I'm playing a paladin and I can always tank if no one else is tanking, but I never want to heal, so I value healers more than tanks. But it's a classic.
Yeah.
Alright folks, that wraps up our early look at leveling here on Project Epoch. Let us know in the comments how you see things playing out. Any classes you think we underrated or completely missed the mark on, let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more Classic Plus content. And until then, I'll see you in the next one.
There you go. No goat here. Thank you very much. Good video there, Shield. Warlock and Hunter. If you guys have still made it to this point in the video, give a reason why to play either of those two. It's kind of where I'm at. Although, to be honest, even Druid could get in there. I'll have to check what the others are doing again, and I'll have to look at the spells and talents. I really do need to work it out because it's conflicting all the time. I could really switch between any of them, but I need to commit to one.